Good afternoon. My name is László Jakab-Orsos. I'm the director of the Penver Voices Festival. The 11th edition of the festival is taking place as we speak. In fact, it's closing tomorrow night with Chimamanda Adichie's lecture across the street at Cooper Union. We are here this afternoon, early afternoon, to celebrate one of our best writers. These are the workers, actually students of the workers' writing schools. This is a new phenomenon which we started a couple of months ago. Just talking about the trajectory of this whole idea. A couple of years ago, 4 years ago exactly, right? I was introduced to Mark Nowak. Elizabeth Weinstein, my former colleague who was working with the festival, introduced us to each other. And Mark had this remarkable project working with workers throughout the world actually, and leading workshops and kind of like introducing the participants to the realm of literature and writing. I immediately fell in love with the whole idea, and we started with the Domestic Workers Union. Needless to say, we all had a blast. And since then on, we're actually running this project every year, so much so that we decided to kind of like build a more formal framework around this whole idea. And this year we started the Workers' Writing School. So hopefully from now on, we're gonna do a spring and fall semester celebrating these people and actually providing a framework, a more kind of institutionalized framework for this whole idea. One more thing what I really wanted you to know, this summer, June 13th and 14th, we're gonna all be out at Governor's Island, and we'll do a picnic / workshop plus celebration, food and drink. And you are more than welcome to take the ferry and spend 2 days, a weekend with us. Without further ado, let me introduce Mark Nowak, one of our heroes of this afternoon, and our writers. You will see them. Thank you so much.
I'm going to be super short and sweet. Thank you, Jakob and Danica and Beth, who's out here somewhere. We love doing this. I started doing these kind of workshops about 12 years ago with workers in Chicago, did another series of them with workers at a closing Ford plant in Minnesota and Ford workers in Pretoria and Port Elizabeth, South Africa, and have been doing with all kinds of workers around the world. And we've had a great first semester of class at the Worker Writer School, and you'll hear all of it today. Short note about the program. First of all, if you haven't done so yet, please put your phones on vibrate or mute. We're going to have a number of people come up and read their work, some with musical accompaniment. Then we've got a short film by Zarden Richardson that was shot at some of our workshop classes, and we're going to end with a tribute to Eduardo Galeano. And so if we could have our first poets to the microphone, please. Give them all a round of applause.
Good afternoon. My name is Davidson Garrett.
I'm Doreen McGill-Nash. It was him?
Or us. Taxi drivers never know who's going to be sitting behind our head in the cab. We can be hailed by celebrities, saints, rich people, poor people, freshly scented people, smelly people, outstanding citizens of society, the lowest dregs of the earth, and everything in between. We haul humanity.
I was on my way to the Children's Library on Leroy Street when I got a call from a good friend who usually tells me when he has theater tickets. He says, "There's a free concert in Central Park. It's really going to be great." Everything is always going to be great, let him tell it.
On a dark Saturday morning around 3, I was driving my yellow Canary up Madison Avenue. I spotted a youngish man whose hand was waving ferociously at my taxi. Slowing down, looking through the windshield, he appeared innocent enough He was about 20, nicely dressed in club attire, and most importantly, sober. I stopped in front of him, and he entered the rear door, and he said, "Mister, I need to go to the Bronx, Co-op City." I replied, "Sure, let's go."
I looked at my granddaughter, Zanani, who was with me, and asked her if it was okay for us to go to the concert instead. It was okay with her.
As I cascaded onto the center lane of the FDR Drive, the man suddenly said, "Mister, could you put on 103.5 on the radio?" I'm not fond of rock music. I prefer classical. But hey, it was a long ride, so I thought I would accommodate him. As the auto crossed and cruised 50 miles an hour along the banks of the East River, he shouted, "Mister, could you turn it up louder? Turn it up louder." I could see in the rearview mirror, Mr. Bronx was bobbing his head in musical ecstasy.
I wouldn't say the Central Park concert was the best concert I've ever been to. Far from it. My granddaughter seemed to enjoy playing with the other kids there. Then afterward, I thought we would go over to FAO Schwartz and maybe the Mama Design store.
Once over the Willis Avenue Bridge, I knew exactly how to get to Co-op City, reminded by the overhead signs on the Bruckner Expressway for Pelham Bay, Hutchinson Expressway, City Island, and Orchard Beach. Already the meter read $45 and counting. About half an hour had passed, and I saw an exit sign for Co-op City. I lowered the sound of the radio and yelled, "Okay, sir, you gotta direct me now." At that he murmured, "Make the next right to Building D."
Then out of nowhere, it started raining cats and dogs. I ran to get my granddaughter and I put her in the complimentary t-shirt that somebody gave us at the concert. I started to panic. I didn't even know what part of the park we were in, since I'm never in this area. We are mostly around the carousel or the zoo, or our favorite, the Diana Ross playground.
I spun around the maze of roads and streets, wondering how the hell I would ever find my way out of here. This was long before cell phones with a GPS attached. Finally, I stopped in front of a mammoth building with steel-framed glass doors at the entrance. With a smile on my face, I punched off the meter, which read $55.30. I quoted the price verbally to my passenger.
I prayed and prayed, walked and walked in the pouring rain. Then I saw it, a taxi stand in the front of Tavern on the Green. One problem, I only had my Metro card. I never carry money in crowds. I get sort of clumsy. But I had money at home. How would I pull this off? After waiting our turn in the taxi line, my granddaughter and I got in a taxi and I said, "Hey buddy, 25th and 9th, okay?" The driver said, "Sure." My granddaughter was thrilled about being out of that rain, and I felt really good about rescuing her.
With the slickness of a carnival barker, he barked, "Hey, mister, wait here. Gotta go up to my apartment to get some cash. I'll be back in a minute." I'd heard that line before, and I screamed, "What do you mean? You got no cash? I'm going up with you. How do I know you're coming back?"
The cab pulled up in front of our apartment building. I said to the driver, "Sir, there was one small omission. My money's inside my house. I live right there," pointing to the window on the first floor. I ran out of the cab with my granddaughter. I looked back at the cab driver. He was fuming. I shouted, "Be right back now, promise."
The man in the back seat pushed open the door, and he ran like a banshee into the darkness, holding his key out to release the front door of this building. All the windows of my taxi were open, so I had to close them and lock the doors and scurry to the front door of the building. Alas, I got separated from him, glancing through the glass as I saw him enter an elevator laughing, aware I'd never see his face again. Crestfallen at losing time and money, I headed back to Manhattan, saying to myself that grand cliche, well, you win some and you lose some.
I felt bad for the cab driver. I rushed back down in less than 5 minutes. I smiled and I paid him and he looked super relieved. You know, I don't feel bad about it. Would do it again if I had to. It was him or us. Another fine day on the MTA. Zenny, where we going today? Central. How we going? Train. 7 minutes away. Okay, let's go to 34th Street. They have an elevated station. Getting a double stroller through the door, something said, "Kerplunk! Zenny, we're stuck! That wheel went right into the opening between the train, like hand in glove. Mom, let me get the babies out, let me get the babies out. Relax. Somebody already went and got the conductor. This train ain't going nowhere." Huge crowd started to assemble. The first woman said, "Pull it harder, pull it harder." The guy with the suit said, "Do it like this, do it like this." The woman again, "Stupid, do it yourself." After what seemed an eternity, a huge guy came and dislodged the stroller. Whew, Zenny, I want to go back home. No way, too close to the swing.
An epigraph from the Argentinian activist poet Alicia Partnoy. She flees from those who talk a lot about her. You talking to me? Nocturnal Manhattan, bereft of starlight. I'm strapped behind the steering wheel, numb with fatigue, spinning my taxi tires on Lexington, a brain-fried automaton. A frumpy, humpbacked woman hails me, stepping on a dime right in front of her orthopedic shoes. She stuffs her wide ass in the back seat of my trusty Crown Vic, bellowing, "Port Authority!" We cruise west on East 39th to the beleaguered bus station. Out of boredom, I pipe up, "Do you live in Jersey?" Like a snarling witch, she shrieks, "It's none of your business where I live." Offended by her insouciance, I retort, "Got a lot of friends in Camden. Thought we might travel in the same circles." At that she snaps, "Stop the chat and drive!" I think to myself, am I just a robot? Is there a law against a cabbie shooting the breeze with a passenger? In the darkness of eerie midnight, I deliver this grumpy rhymes with itch to her hellish destination. She swipes her credit card, slams the door with fury as I take a cab driver swipe at her. Rolling down my side window, I shout, "Lady, you deserve the Port Authority." I am with you, men and women of a generation, or ever so many generations hence. Walt Whitman. Leaves of Gas, a taxi driver's homage to Walt Whitman. Dearest Walt, you ferried to Manhattan with hundreds of others from the shores of Brooklyn. A different world in the 19th century, a world of industrial revolution, defining America as a robust, burgeoning country, a country inviting all tenacious people to glean opportunities and build a great nation on this precious earth. Here I am, in the 21st century, crossing lovingly the same East River, driving over a steel bridge in my taxi, my humble little business on wheels, enabling me to subsidize my art, to find my highest potential in dazzling New York City, an ever-changing city, Mr. Whitman, since your poetic feet trod its cobblestone streets. Viewing the skyline, sparkling in afternoon sun, I'm in awe of architectural jewels, skyscrapers rising up to the heavens. Deep inside myself, I know I'm only a little speck in this vast plot of commerce, but a speck that shines its own light as I become the pulse of a thriving metropolis, a metropolis with its crooked side streets, its spicy neighborhoods brimming with trucks, cars, cabs, and bikes, peppered with sidewalks of pedestrians, diverse denizens, all striving to explore their own possibilities in the hubbub of urban wonderland. There is a tranquility within me, within my artistic soul, breathing cherished hope on this island of never-ending dreams. As I begin my taxi shift, my mind is at peace, filled with blessed contentment, solidifying a sense of purpose to my fragile life while seeking to capture your romantic, Whitman-esque promises. My entire being rejoices in the power of the moment, finding answers to all transcendental questions, elated with the universe, until it all evaporates when the first Jersey driver cuts me off.
Good afternoon, my name is Lisette Palencia. Good afternoon, my name is Lisette Palencia and I represent Domestic Workers United. I have a little poem representing the real happening in the industry of domestic workers. I call from the teeth out. Rubbing shoulder, sweet smile, make believing, foolishing because they stupid. Clock point an hour to get in, but shouldn't not point an hour to leave. Can I go home? They expect to be asked. Domestic workers don't know the difference between cook and bake. Wash and dry. They cook in the oven and they bake in the top of the stove in the burners. Wash in dry, dry in wash. Machine bright colors with bleach, white with black colors. We really love you. We appreciate you. We meaning. Pouring hard rain days, take the children out. Snowing, storm, snowing, go to the library. Bright, beautiful days, stay all day out. Did you clean, organize children's room? Domestic workers don't pee and poo. Not even 5 minutes for lunch time. Housekeepers get paid 3 to 4 hours. She didn't clean the closet. It only takes a minute to be done. Everything out and, I'm sorry, I got confused. everything to put it out and put it in, it takes only 1 second. They don't know respect for humans' life, workers. We love you. We love you. I feel sick. Go home. I will hire someone else. You're part of the family. We love you. Just nothing from the heart. Just from the teeth out. That's the reality from hard workers, domestic workers. Thank you so much.
Hey, everybody. Okay, here we go. No pension blues. 5 a.m. in my cab, and first thing I do is tear and throw the night driver's air freshener to the moon. Oh me, oh my, gonna drive until I die? A pension I ain't never gonna see. Drive across the Queensboro Bridge, and drive toward the park. My taxi's rocking and rumbling in the dark. Drive down 5th, drive towards Washington Square. Might drive till 7 a.m. without picking up a fare. Drive toward the Hudson, fishing for my first, always the most special. Hey, this guy looks like Robert Durst. Oh me, oh my, gonna drive until I die? A pension I ain't never gonna see. Buddy, go west, 200 west, go across Houston and drive to the right. Yes, sir, I will, and for my pleasure, hit every pothole just for spite. Drop Durst off quick, now to the Lower East Side. Need some coffee fuel for this crazy 12-hour drive. Gotta take a leak. When I see a fare, a young man looking like a freak wants to go to Inwood. His odor makes me real weak. Oh me, oh my, gonna drive until I die? A pension I ain't never gonna see. Pal, drive up 10th and please make it quick. Poppy, pull over, I think I'm gonna be sick. I drive away fast when he steps out. So long, Papacito, I say to myself. Right now, I'd love to drink a Guinness Stout. Oh me, oh my, gonna drive until I die? A pension I ain't never gonna see. Got a little secret, but I ain't afraid to tell. Our taxi workforce is over 20,000 strong, and our day will come. Oh me, oh my, gonna drive until I die? A pension I ain't never gonna see. Thanks. Thanks, Mike. I've been driving a cab for about 30 years. And this is actually a true story that a blues here. Driving a cab for 30 years, I got a right to sing the blues, I think. So I'm gonna sing it here. This is Mike Squire, mandolin. Of course, I had a harmonica before.
Hey, everybody.
And this is called Pothole Blues. It's 4 a.m. and I feel like crap this morning. Oh, yes. Be a hard 12-hour shift and I feel barely alive. Radio says it's going to be a tough day to survive. Now, I'm a taxi driver, and I've been one for 30 years. Could I do something else? Never could conquer my fears. But ain't I a man working hard in the Big Apple? My dreams deferred and done gone. During my 4th hour, pothole, got a flat tire. Need a mechanic? Now I'm no taxi for hire. I'm sitting on 38th Street, ugly traffic pig cop to my door. Slaps me, 115 bucks. Tell her she a bitch to the core. Ain't I a man? Taxi driver, 30 years. Could I do something else? Never could conquer my fears, my dreams deferred and done gone. Black crows in my kitchen, and wolves are at my door. Need some sunshine on my brain with all the stress that's in store. Now my life's full of dread. Bills are at my door. Bust the pink cop's lousy head. She a low-down, filthy whore. Ain't I a man? A taxi driver, 30 years. Could I do something else? Never could conquer my fears. Gonna drive till the end, and it ain't gonna end well. Working hard in the Big Apple, my dreams deferred and done gone for a lousy buck. And I'm out of luck. Thank you. We read here a couple of years ago, the New York Times called Davidson and I the Bards of Gridlock. Well, I'm sad to report that gridlock is worse today than it's ever been.
Bards are better.
And, you know, when I first started driving, a young man, I used to fantasize about sex to get my spirits up. But now, as an old man, I fantasize about food. And not only eating delicious food, but eating it way out of my yellow Nissan on a Caribbean island somewhere. And I actually collaborated on this. I wrote this song with an acquaintance of mine, George Gershwin. It was fun. His brother was always hanging around with fancy words. It was a little annoying, but we wrote this. This is from actually a 1930 musical called Crazy. I adore this tune. It's called But Not For Me. And I put words to it. I'm going to dedicate this to Margaret. And my apologies to Ira. And I'm going to introduce the lovely and talented Christine on the steel drums. Wow. Really great. And of course, Mike Squire, still a mandolin. And I entitled this Horny Palms, Drunken Nissan. 8 hours into a 12-hour shift, I dream of the turquoise sea. No exhaust and stink from farting buses. I dream of the turquoise sea. An island, not Manhattan. An island, definitely not Staten. I need to change this loopy life eventually. Horny palms, hard from the job, tight on the steering wheel. Drunken passenger up to the Bronx, and I begin to feel how sweet this dream can be. Warm breeze caressing me. Handsome black and brown faces are guaranteed. The potent taste of rum, which will warm my cynical heart. The only rumbling I hear is my stomach when I start to eat a scrumptious seafood meal. Fresh air with sour lime peels. The sandy beaches I walk along the wondrous sea. My lovely wife will be there by my side. Watch the sunrise come up and we will find all our senses are pleased. All our pressures have eased as we gaze at the precious turquoise sea. All our senses are pleased. All our pressures have eased as we gaze at the precious turquoise sea. My horny palms soften.
Now if we could bring up the other half of the class and people up here can take a seat in the front row, give them all a round of applause.
moi maudit la ligne nan. C'était un jour 24 décembre. Moi t'a marché main dans la main dans la rue Port-au-Prince pendant la nuit, moi même ak ménage moi. Moi ak ménage moi, nous te main dans la main. Nous t'a promené sous place Saint-Pierre. Pour nous te contempler la nature. Vers 7 heures, toute lumière t'a plumé. Toute arbre de Noël t'a clairé. Toute radio t'a chanté Vive Noël. Ciel là te belle avec étoiles. C'est comme ça, moi ak ménage moi, que nous te content en pile. Parce que nous te connaissons t'a pas passer un bon moment. Et c'est comme ça, l'en gade, nous ouais, la ligne nan vient paraître. Ça pas te fait bien. Parce que la ligne n'a pas de ba nou yon ti chance pour nous te ka contempler ciel là. Pour nous te ka garder toutes belles étoiles k'ap clairer. Étant minuit chrétien, c'est ciel que toute radio t'a clarionné Vive Noël. La ligne nan pas de ba nou aucune occasion pour moi même ak ménage moi pour nous te passer un bon moment ensemble. Parce que la ligne nan t'éclaire plus. Ça te vin fait que tout le monde t'a gardé nous. La ligne nan c'est une belle bagaille. Li fait nous bien, les l'a clairé. Mais jou ça, moi te maudit la ligne nan. Parce que li pas de bon yon chance pour moi ak ménage moi pour me te prendre un petit plaisir. Oh belle lune. Oh belle lune. Oh belle lune. Moi puni on pour ça.
So that was I Curse the Moon by Gerda Elias, and I will translate it from Haitian Creole, French Creole to English. Short rendition. I curse the moon. The day, December 24th, Christmas Eve. I was walking on the street of Port-au-Prince during the night. My boyfriend and I were walking hand in hand. We were promenading on St. Pierre, contemplating nature. It was a beautiful night. Around 7 p.m., lights were turned on. All of the Christmas lights had been turned on. Christmas songs were playing on the radio. The sky, beautifully lit, were stars. All of this was why my boyfriend and I, our hearts, were filled with joy. We knew great times were ahead. We look up at the sky and we see the moon. Just then, the moon had lit up this whole sky. This did us no justice. The moon gave us little to no chance to contemplate the sky. It gave us no chance to gaze at all the stars as they shine. The moon, it left little to no time for romance, as its brightness revealed the gazes of other people and passers-by. The moon is a beautiful thing. It makes us feel great when it shines bright above. But that day was the first day I cursed the moon. It was the best day and the best moment of my life to spend with my boyfriend. Oh, beautiful moon, I curse you for this.
Haïti chéri, pi bel pays passé ou nan point. Faut que moi te quitté ou pour moi te capable comprendre valeur. Moi te manqué ou pour me te capable apprécier. Pour me sentir vraiment tout ça ou te pour moi. Gen bon soleil, bon rivière et bon breuvage. En bas pied bois, ou toujours joindre bon l'ombrage. Bon brise de mer, capé souffler en nos plages. Haïti chéri, c'est un pays qui bien cher. Haïti chéri, pi bel pays passé ou nan point. Faut que moi te quitte, pour moi te capable comprendre valeur. Faut que moi te laisser, pour me capable apprécier, pour me sentir vraiment tout ça ou t'es pour moi. I am a Gerda, and I'm a domestic worker. A number of Haitian women for Haitian refugees. And I miss my family. I missed my country 82. L'amour remplacé par injustice. Moi ba yo cœur moi, yo femme injustice. Malgré toute injustice que vous avez subi, c'est pour toujours gagner dans le cœur. Parce que dans la vie ça, vous avez joué bien et vous avez joué mal. Il y a des gens qui font ça qui bien et il y a des gens qui font ça qui mal. Chaque jour, pendant que vous vivez sous terre, vous avez joué dans pile injustice. Mais, pas quitter ça faire tomber dans le mauvais chemin. Parce que bon Dieu dit, pas rendre mal pour mal. Je vous pardonne, Calbas. Ça vous plantez, c'est ça vous va récolter. Ou mettre quitter ou faire injustice. Mais ça me connaît. Il y a un bon Dieu qui a gardé. Li ouais, li tende, li connaît. Il y a un jour, l'a dit, suspend fait petit moi yo passe travail. Imaginez ou travail nuit que le jour, yo pas payé ou. Ou pas gen temps pour vivre tant que monde. Toute belle bagaille que bon Dieu créé yo, ou pas gen temps pour jouir yo. Tant que contempler ciel là. Garder belle pied bois que bon Dieu créé yo. Contempler ti oiseau qui volé dans ciel là. Ou pas même gen temps pour garder une petite télévision. Ça c'est injustice. Suspend fait petit bon Dieu yo, subit injustice. Suspend, suspend, suspend. I'm a domestic worker. This is my story. I'm very suffer. It's the reason I send this poem for you. Thank you.
That poem was called Love and Injustice. Love and injustice. I give them my heart, and they give me injustice. Although you suffer through injustice, one must always have love in one's heart. In this life, you get the good with the bad. Every day that passes, you will encounter difficulties on your path. There are people who will do good by you, but there are many who will do bad by you. Don't allow that to lead you to a bad path. Because God says, do unto others as you would like done unto you. A pumpkin plant does not seed calabash fruit. What you reap is what you sow. Let them give you injustice. But what I know is that there's a God watching. He watches, he listens, and he knows when they're causing his children pain. A day will come when he'll ask the injustice to end. Imagine if you work night and day and you're not paid. You have no time to live like a human being. You cannot enjoy all of God's beautiful creations, like pondering the birds, the sky, nature, or just simply watching television. You have no time to rest and enjoy life. Please, please, please stop the injustice.
Hey everybody. This is my poem. I don't really have a title, but yeah, I'm just gonna read it. Words full with uncertainty, same meaning but spelled different. I'm a word, faithful but Fidel as a name. Known by opinions, shy but with a smile. Afraid but brave enough to speak. Unknown, what I'm going to say next, but know what starts will finish. One to use strong vocab, but that's really not me. Liking to say boring instead of tedious. I'm more simple, like on Casual Friday. Undetermined to wow you, but to wow myself, joyed and excited that I made it this far. Bombarding the door, trying to feel free, not to fly, but enough to walk. Enough for others to see what I mean rather than they guess. Understand shore sounds like shore, not the fringe land on the edge of a body of water, but sure, one that's defined as confident in what one's think, knows, having no doubt that one is right. Got a paper, had to go back in time. As of now, I feel like Eminem, song Lose Yourself. It's a pretty good song. Check it out. Unsettled and overthinking. Remember when I was young, just writing roses are red, violets are blue. I could say now that grass is green and triangles have 3 sides, but you guys will say that's ironic. At the beginning of this, everybody had their minds blank, but I'm here to create an image. To feel free and free your mind. Have vibrant images, more challenge yourself. Shun the darkness within, but brings out the happy inside of you. That's all I wanted to say.
Good day, everyone. My name is Samantha Lee, and I'm a board member of Domestic Workers United. My poem is titled, Who Am I? I am back on this journey of hope to America 15 years ago. A dream, a new life, a new destiny. Now I'm here washing dishes, dusting, mopping, laundering. I'm a babysitter / housekeeper. My days are long and hard. The pay is minimal, just enough to get by. No socializing, vacation, just time to get rest. Since everlasting, this dream of mine, I feel invisible. I'm surrounded by this enchanting life of luxuries, the mansions I keep, the children I care, and the fancy clothes I launder. Will I ever be visible to be who I am? My dream, my new life, my destiny.
It's really hard to follow everyone after such great pieces. It's nice to see everyone. About a lot more people than I thought would actually come. Okay. The pages of the history books are filling up now, and sadly, with issues that should be ancient history. We should be moving forward as a nation and a people, but we're taking so many steps back every day that it's hard to look forward to the start of the healing process. Children are experiencing the same injustices their grandfathers fought so hard to rid of. The same pain and suffering felt decades ago has somehow resurfaced. There's a lot of noise a lot of noise out there about the police, about what they do and what they don't do. This is about what they don't do. The silence, the screams, the silent screams. The silence and screams behind the wall. A wall greater than the Great Wall. Walls built to shield, walls built to protect. Voices, voices too loud to ignore. Screams, a cacophonous chaos. Voices, inaudible voices. Silent chaos. Screams. Last night I heard the screaming, loud voices behind the wall. Another sleepless night for me, won't do no good to call the police. Always coming late if they come at all. Last night I heard the screaming, loud voices behind the wall. Another sleepless night for me, won't do no good to call the police. Always coming late if they come at all. And when they arrive, they say they can't interfere with domestic affairs between a man and his wife. And as they walk out the door, the tears welled up in her eyes. Last night I heard the screaming, then a silence that chilled my soul. I prayed that I was dreaming when I saw the ambulance in the road. And the policeman said, I'm here to keep the peace. Will the crowd disperse? I think we all could use some sleep. Last night I heard the screaming, loud voices behind the wall. Another sleepless night for me, won't do no good to call the police. Always coming late if they come at all. Walls, voices, screams, dreams, lost dreams, a divide too great, to hear everything and yet nothing at all, to be in control and have no say, no justice, no peace. Thank you.
Paul and Silas bound in jail, ain't got no money for to go their bail. Keep your eyes on the prize, hold on. Paul and Silas began to shout, dungeon shook, and chains fell off. Keep your eyes on the prize, hold on. So you know what? Sometimes you just have to keep your eyes on the prize. You think it easy to work for legacy, old money, on plantations of privilege? I mean ritzy 50 and 60th. It's a cent, a look about $1 that can do you like that. They want everything done. Yet stiff you what you're worth. for this colored girl ain't worth the money she's worth. At least so they think. And by the way, this is a domestic worker's blue. A babysitter, caregiver, housekeeper's blue. Said the woman with a colorful calypso accent. They give you fever. Fever? It hurts. And it's a hurting fever. Intent to set you back. I know. 19 years. July 2003 was the last. I left with a week's pay, could barely buy a loaf of Miss Buttersfield designer's rye, much less cow's milk. It is my 5th eviction note. Legacy and old money can do you like that. I never missed a day. I cooked, shopped, laundered, Victoria's Secret, and plenty secrets. Polished pristine baseboard in ornate room. Clean the cracks of alabaster babies as I recite Harold and the purple crayon till I turn blue. Engineer baby swing pram toy trains. Plan play date and fate. Walk dog along an avenue that reeks of dough. Being mindful to scoop up shit after Fido and not to get a fine. Hoping that the Domestic Workers' Bill of Rights would make things right. 19 years, no severance. Talk of money gets funny. What do you think I'm worth? Madam asked, what do you think is fair? Certainly not the 2 hand-me-down end tables from your Aunt Bessie's collection. 19 years, no severance. 5 eviction note, said the pleasingly plump woman with a colorful calypso accent. They give you fever. Fever? This next poem is called Deception. I was almost certain I'd marry the artist with silver mustache on Jerusalem, considering how much I love the art, but not the artist, until I recited first line of a poem written a year earlier, while rolling my tongue in and around his earlobes, drinking kosher wine, green martinis into early morn, as if high on insomnia. Then I knew I was truly in love with the artist. How's that? I was almost sure we'd say our vows on lush grounds of Victorian B&B in quiet Belfast, beneath umbrella of New England's chilly air. Barefooted, we'd wear khaki, the way Castro wore khaki. Family and friends who could afford to come throw rye instead of rice. Render one verse of Ave Maria in hip hop, the other calypso in B minor flat. As we exchange kisses in missionary position, only we'd be standing. I was almost certain I'd have 6 boys with eyes dark as berries, slanted exactly like his mother. We'd always ask God for a basketball team. If it didn't work, a soccer squad, for which I'd run lines. Later on, raise a couple of all-station mix behind urban barbed wire for picket fence. The initial ring of telephone catapulted me from daydream to dust-painted canvas, waterfalls, island men in Capri weighing yams on galvanized scales in abstract green, yellows for sidewalk sale late afternoon. When she came to the door, his ex, with whom he shared a house and park, as if she wanted me to know, handed me a bill. He was still paying landscapers to mow her lawn. my eyes raged with water. I remember looking at the cutlass, clueless, swinging by its blade on wooden block near pliers. Thoughts of sending an arm, leg, to his mother in Montserrat, feeding remains to dog while painting a mural with his blood.
Snippet of what it actually looks like behind the scenes, so please enjoy.
Motivational, because it just really got the juices flowing. You know, sometimes even when you enjoy writing and enjoy speaking, it just goes to sleep unless you have something to kind of stir it up and wake it up, and you know, something real to plug it into. So this, to me, was entirely motivational.
Progression pour aider peuple à parler anglais plus bien.
Progression, because for me, it helps speak English better.
It gives voice to people who has been marginalized or disenfranchised. They're able to speak truth to power, and this is why this poetry workshop is extremely important.
Taxi drivers never know who's going to be sitting behind our head in the cab. We can be hailed by celebrities, saints, rich people, poor people, freshly scented people.
Some of this happened to me too. So now fake, so I think it's real life. So I named from the teeth out. Shrugging shoulders, sweet smile, maybe leave it, foolishing because they're stupid. Clock point an hour to get to work, but shouldn't point an hour to leave.
He was my equal. Shattered the silence of a very Negro night. P.S. my Eustachian tube on the left.
I love to hear you read.
Yeah,
You have such a lilt and beautiful sound.
More information?
More about Reagan, but yeah, a little bit more information
more. Yeah,
in
I have
there.
more. I have more
If you have more, if you
information.
can,
I
like
do.
fill it out a little, because that
this
interests
one
me.
is like this.
To write better poems, I think will help us to think better and organize our thoughts better, so that would translate into maybe a stronger movement.
I wondered if it could use just one kind of concluding. The Galeano's ones sort of often end with something like a poetic concluding sentence or question. Like you had asked, when I was moving over there, I heard you asking some kind of question.
Right. Was it resolved? Who did anything?
Like something like that that would just wrap it up a little bit at the end. And then otherwise, I think it's great.
Dans la vie ça, on va rencontrer il y a fort bien et on va rencontrer il y a fort mal. Exprimer tout ça que on pas capable dire dans la société.
Poetry is important for workers. Not only is it a relaxation exercise, but it permits workers to express themselves and all they want to say.
I think it's important to let the world know what's going on in the market, like all kind of workers, because it's not only domestic workers, we all kind of workers, we getting abused, and this is the way they can let them know we do have brain. Like some people think because we perform this kind of job, we don't have a brain. We perform in this kind of job because it's the path that especially immigrants we get in to get a salary to cover all the expenses. That's why we're looking for it.
Zarden's in the back row, everybody who made the film. Thank you, Zarden, who's been with us each and every week, and we hope it's just the beginning of a longer documentary film that we're gonna make on the Worker Writer School. 2 years ago, we had an event with the taxi workers at Joe's Pub where taxi workers read their poems. And afterwards, my wife and I walked just down the street to the new school to hear the amazing Uruguayan writer Eduardo Galeano. As many of you know, he passed away last month. He was a guest here at the Penn World Voices Festival. So I'd like to invite up Doreen, Christine, Lizeth, Davidson, and Seth, and we're gonna end our program today with a homage to Eduardo Galeano. Christine. What I thought I'd do is, after Eduardo died, I brought in some copies of some of his work, and we read a number of the pieces. And so I just want to read one little short snippet from his amazing trilogy, Memory of Fire. This is from volume 3. And it's a piece we talked about actually in the workshop quite a bit. By the way, I just want to say I feel like I'm the luckiest creative writing teacher in America. I just had to say that. So here's Eduardo Galeano, 1955, Guatemala City. 1 year after the reconquest of Guatemala, Richard Nixon visits this occupied land. The Union of United Fruit Workers and 532 other unions have been banned by the new government. The new penal code punishes with death anyone who calls a strike. Political parties are outlawed. The books of Dostoevsky and other Soviet writers have been thrown onto the bonfire. The banana kingdom has been saved from agrarian reform. The Vice President of the United States congratulates President Castillo Armas. For the first time in history, says Nixon, a communist government has been replaced by a free one. That's Eduardo Galeano. As our homage, we're going to move from the 1960s up to the present, beginning with Doreen McGill-Nash.
I named this History Within My DNA. History is in my DNA. Don't remember when it wasn't that way. First feelings arose around MLK/JFK. Always remember feeling this way. Mama said, "You barking up the wrong tree. Black folks sold each other into slavery. Okay, we had slaves. We didn't hang them from trees. We didn't tar them, feather them, didn't brand them like cows. Besides, even our celebrities had to kowtow. Minister Malcolm X, that's my dad. My heart and ears he definitely had. Never met him in the flesh, though I talk to him every day. Little kids being turned away from a school. Give me a break. Ain't trying to be no fool. Got luck when I heard of, I renamed him Dr. John Brown. He was buried in the books, but with him I found you can't fool all the people all the time, but you can fool enough to keep things rough. Never knew a lot about you, still digging for the rest. Don't see how your baby could have had a coal upon his chest.
April 1970, Trinidad and Tobago. I knew there was a mutiny. A state of emergency had been declared by the Prime Minister, Dr. Eric Williams. A curfew had been in place. There was a sense of fear, dread. Trinidad and Tobago was literally and figuratively scorching. It had become a hotbed of turbulence and unrest. Women's wig was snatched from their heads to make a statement that folks were down with black power. A slogan coined by a young son of the soil, Stokely Carmichael, who had immigrated to the United States and became a hands-on organizer with SNCC at Howard University. There was massive students uprising on a global scale, which influenced the Black Power Revolution in Trinidad. There were sit-ins at St. George's University in Montreal, now called Concordia, as well as the United States, to root out systematic racism. Racism against marginalized and disenfranchised, who were primarily folks of color. Trinidad and Tobago, on the other hand, was seeking to reclaim authority, power, respect, and identity away from the British, from whom it sought its independence in 1962. There was even a mutiny staged by delinquent members of the army, which, by the way, had nothing to do with the Black Power uprising, but about the corruption and inefficiencies of the army. A lot of university students gave their lives for the revolution. Their bones and blood and bodies littered the landscape of this lush twin island republic. With all the upheaval and disturbances of the uprising, the economic and social freedom of West Indians had not yet been achieved. Its oil and sugar had continued to be pillaged and raped by foreign companies.
How ex-President Ronald Reagan promoted genocide. 1981 approved Guatemala extermination above leftist guerrillas and their civilian support. Mechanism green light opened a path to genocide. Against Harness, a Mayan village, ex-President Ronald Reagan supplied military aid to the brutal right-wing regime. In Guatemala, the pursuit, the goal to exterminating a slaughter of the same 100,000 of people for genocide against Mayan Indians, indigenous in the northern highlands of Guatemala. Guatemala, March 1982 to August 1983. Ex-President Rios Montt, the village of Chuhul, located in northern highlands mountains, like 32 years ago. People were slaughtered, mostly children. The blood ran like a water, cutting off heads like peeling orange. I'm sorry, I'm a Guatemala. Far from being a passive population, caught between fires, the exils, the Quiches Mayans, the massacres, lack of food, burning homes. There were 97 massacres, so only people who were like 3 or 4 years older, they were able to escape. And now they, in a little piece, at least mostly of them, they were able to see their family going back to that highlands, because thanks to the United Nations, the courts of Guatemala, they were reopened a short time ago. And this year, finally, ex-President Rios Montt, he can forgive what he been doing, and it's a path so another president don't do the same. And hopefully these people now, they can be a little in peace, hopefully a lot of, just because they're indigenous, they were doing that to them. And they are humans. And as anyone else, they need respect. It doesn't matter how they look, because they were doing genocide just because the way they look, because they live in poverty. But as I always say, they live in a very poverty. Even if they eat rice and beans and tortilla every day, they're happy, and the children grew up very happy. Thank you.
The taxi driver protest of October 26, 1993. By October 1993, 35 taxi drivers, both yellow and livery, had been murdered in New York City since January of that year. The majority of the murders were livery drivers who work in outer boroughs. In 1992, there had been 45 murders of taxi drivers. The National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health reported on-the-job homicides occurred in the taxi business more than any other industry. Do we not matter to the city of New York? Are we just statistics in the cruel night? We are hard-working men and women who transport diverse humanity to all boroughs in our yellow cabs and livery vehicles. The Taxi and Limousine Commission requires medallion cabs to stop for everyone hailing a taxi. In fancy department stores, there are security cameras documenting each customer. Only our tired eyes keep a record who sits in our back seats. We are shot in cold blood or slashed in our faces for less than $100. Our bodies are sent to the local morgue, and our families often can't afford to bury us. Many of the drivers are from India and Pakistan, working to send money to poor relatives so they can improve their lives. We did not expect our livelihoods to be threatened by thieves in the night. Today we drive en masse down Broadway to City Hall, protesting in our sweatshops on wheels, almost 4,000 strong, to make our voices heard. We honk our horns and shout slogans for all the world to hear. Traffic will be disrupted. It will inconvenience many. But remember, death is never convenient, and these brutal killings must cease. New York must strive to protect our safety as much as it does its Wall Street stockbrokers. Thank you.
Well, for those of a certain age, I must say, it always comes back to Nixon, you know? I mean, 1955, there he was, representing what today would be a very moderate Republican president, Dwight D. Eisenhower. And what a pathetic excuse for a human being, really. And Galeano was right on point. And thank you, Mark, for bringing him to my attention, because I was ignorant about that, about Galeano. Anyway, this is 2004, the Taxi TV. Everyone loves the Taxi TV, so I figured I'd do something that would please the audience. The Taxi TV, in my opinion, though, the beginning of the end of civilization as we know it. It is often positioned in the face of the passenger, and each time I turn on the meter, I am treated to the hysterical sounds of TV's audience of the Kelly and Michael program, probably ginned up by a second-rate comedian, and they scream as if their lives depend on it. Sometimes a wiseacre 9-year-old will make the TV even louder. Often, an older passenger has no idea how to turn off the TV, even if he or she wants to. I can only turn up my own radio, and I do, blasting it in a frustration that hurts me. Charlie Yardbird Parker is my chosen medicine for the TV madness, the antibodies for the TV virus. Bird's music, his plastic horn, blows through the angel dust of my mind. soothing my beleaguered soul. Bird improvises, as cab drivers do, and as Bird's ancestors, African Americans, had to do to survive this American life. His mid-20th century horn wails against US apartheid, wails against injustice, wails for every black child lynched or shot in the back by vicious, racist cops, and wails for the dead children's parents, shot down by unimaginable grief. Thank you.
If we could get all the performers up, we've got about 5 minutes for a couple of questions. So everybody who read a poem, come on up, come on up. And do we have a hand for a question for anybody on stage? I know, it's sinking in. Yes, in the back.
Yes, I'm sorry I don't know her name. The lady with the lovely headdress.
Christina.
Yeah, Christina. Can I ask you where you're from?
I am from Trinidad.
From Trinidad?
Yes.
Okay. I just love the way you speak.
Well, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. No, in the back, yes. Yes.
Me?
Yeah, Michelle.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm excellent.
We go way back, but
Yeah.
I was at that reading 2 years ago. But I just wanted to say, since then, I guess, what do you think is the biggest thing you've learned from each other, from being in the same room with each other?
Who wants to take that one? Well, here, come up.
I think it's always wonderful to learn about people's backgrounds, where they're from. I didn't know a lot about Haitian culture. I knew a little bit, but I feel that I've learned to really look into the soul of these wonderful writers and learned about how they struggled growing up. I grew up in Louisiana, which had its own kind of apartheid, racist mentality, so I could identify very strongly with the domestic workers, because in the South, domestic workers really worked for nothing and were treated like slaves. I grew up in the Jim Crow South of the 50s and 60s, when there were still water fountain signs that said Colored Men's Water Fountain. I grew up in a city where the state fair had a day for black people only, and they weren't allowed to go to the same day as the white people. So these are my people. Thanks.
Also recognizing that all our struggles are the same. We all have a story that is embedded within each and every one of us. And the whole idea of being in a collective is being able to speak that truth to power. You know, for some of the writers here who might have been really demure and who might have been afraid to put those words on paper and let them breathe, I think it's pretty liberating. So yes, we must commend Mark. We can't say it enough without him and the work that he's doing around the world, around the globe.
Yep.
Thank you. That was very moving. I'm from Brussels, City. It's been 3 weeks spectacular experience. And just thinking of how much of the is the communication movie that I'm going to see, especially for the fair book of Hawaii and the remote. So
I'll translate. So she is asking Jera where she's from and how it's been living in the U.S. and how did she come here.
And was it difficult to try to construct
So, faut bien communication, détailler chaque projet, pour traduire la
I'm Haitian people. I'm from Haiti. Okay, my name is Gerda, and yes, is when before I'm coming at America is very difficult for me because I'm working. I'm married. I'm a family. I have my husband and 3 kids in Haiti, and my first kid is have 20 years. The second have a 21. The first one is at comment troisième année. Premier an, li nan 3e année université sciences entrepreneuriat.
So her premiere, her first child is in a university studying science, 3rd year.
Deuxième nan, li nan première année médecine et
the second is in his first year of medicine school.
Moi te kon travail très dur pour nous capable priver là avec troisième petite là, li gagne 15 ans, c'est un petit fille.
I worked very hard to get here. The 3rd child, 15 years old.
Moi te toujours travail très dur pour me capable priver là avec famille moi parce que moi te vle progrès dans famille moi.
I've always worked very hard to get here with my family, so they can progress as they get older.
Moi travaille 12 ans comme assistant manager dans Radio Shack, Haïti.
I've worked in Haiti for 12 years as an assistant manager in Radio Shack.
C'était une vie qui normale. Mais moi venu à America, moi t'ai besoin plus changement encore pour famille moi.
It was a normal life for us, but coming to America, I was looking for more change or progression for my family, so hoping to have a better way of life.
Il était difficile pour venir parce que faut me passer mal des visas, mais t'ai un bon job.
It was hard to come over to the US because I had to apply for a visa.
Et travail moi pas vle que me quitter pays hein, mais moi-même moi t'ai besoin changement pour famille moi t'ai dit m'a venir quand même America.
I wanted the change for my family and I really wanted to come over, but my job they didn't want me to come, so it was hard to get a visa through work in order to travel.
Moi t'ai demandé visa, moi t'ai rentré America.
I asked for the visa and entered the US.
Et moi fait une mauvaise expérience.
I had a really difficult experience, a hard experience.
Moi rentré par Indiana, c'est la caillon zamim que m'te habité.
I entered through Indiana. I stayed with a friend.
C'est lui qui t'a voyé chercher Haïti, qui t'a payé ticket pour me venir joindre.
This is the friend that sent a ticket to for me in Haiti, so I may enter.
L'homme t'est arrivé, il t'a dit m'a travailler avec elle. Moi commencé travail et c'est comme ça moi ouais. C'est au travail depuis la journée 6h du matin jusqu'à 3h du matin.
So when I came here, I started working with my friend. Then I quickly realized that you start at 6 a.m. to 6 a.m. to 3 a.m.
Lui c'était un commerçant, faut me qu'on a l'acheter avec lui.
She worked in commerce, so I had to go and purchase and buy with her.
I'm sorry. It's very difficult for me to speak for this story because okay. God, thank you. Moi depuis 6h m'a travail, moi quand aller acheter dans storage avec, moi fait manger, le me retourner quand fait journée comme ça me pas manger.
So I would start the day off working very early with her, going into the storage to find ingredients and stuff so that I may cook.
Et le retourner from faire manger vers 4 heures.
Returning from the storage, I would have to cook at 4.
Et retourner back dans storage là à vers 6 heures à chercher ti moun l'école.
And just to return back to the storage to get more stuff and to eventually pick up children from school.
Et après al travailler dans storage là pour jusqu'à 3 heures du matin.
And only to go back to the storage to work till 3 a.m.
Moi t'ai dit que ça c'est pas changer la vie mais ça c'est détruire la vie.
And I said, this is not progression or a change in life. This is suffrage, basically.
Moi c'est chrétienne, moi t'ai à prier en pile.
I am a Christian and I pray a lot.
Parce que dame n'a pas de aucune occasion pour me rencontrer haïtien du tout ni parler avec personne.
This person that I was staying with, she never gave me the chance to meet or speak with anyone from my country, from Haiti, in order for me to hopefully get ahead.
Et tout côté elle qu'on allait, c'est côté qui gagne africain, américain, dominicain, chinois. Ça veut dire que je n'ai pas aucune chance pour expliquer personne monde de ça m't'a vivre.
So it made it really hard to meet anyone who had gone through my journey to explain to them what was going on with me, what was happening, and all of the negative things that was going on in my life.
Mais moi te crois que bon Dieu t'a metté me dehors dans sa mia.
But I knew that God would take me out of this that I was going through.
Et c'est comme sa famille moi t'es allé dans store un jour, gen 3 haïtiens qui t'est rentré, t'es gen yon qui parlait avec et parmi lesquels t'es gen 2 monde c'était famille, yo t'ai récupéré moi dans mesdames.
That's when I went out one day and I met someone and spoke to them who was from Haiti and was able to get out of Indiana.
One or two small pieces of information. First of all, thank each and every one of you for coming out today. We were so thrilled to have you here for our audience, for our first semester class with the Worker Writers Institute. We're going to have our online summer session class on Governor's Island, June 13th and 14th. It's going to be great. If you want to come out, please do come out. There'll be information on the PEN website, pen.org, or on our Worker Writers site, which is workerwriters.org. One logistical question, there's another group which is going to come right in here for a 3:30 panel. So if you could save your questions, we're all going to meet up by the ticket table out there so that everybody can get in here and set up for the next one. But if everybody today who read could please stand up and we could give them one final round of applause.